Good morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Don Paul. I say morning because it's 11 a.m. on Tuesday, and we're going to take a detailed look at this somewhat disappointing, wouldn't you say, weather pattern over the next week and beyond, actually, the kind you can't really get in a TV weathercast because I can't run over into sports when I'm doing these. I can take the time that I need. You may not think I need it, but we're going to take a look at the overall ongoing pattern and what is to come over the next couple of weeks. Currently, we have our garden variety showers sinking very slowly from west northwest toward the east southeast over our region. And when we punch in a composite of the Weather Service radars, you can see most of the rain as I'm recording this is over the Niagara frontier, but there is a sinking motion. And this means this rain will slowly end from west northwest to east southeast during the afternoon, or at least wind down. It's not that June's going to be busting out all over later today, but at least it will be drier by mid afternoon and late afternoon. And then we should get a generally dry day tomorrow. The next area that's being watched nationally today, the central and southern plains, a moderate to high risk of dangerous severe storms, maybe a few with tornadoes over parts of north central Texas where nothing is happening yet, up into southern Kansas, and the activity already getting going. But it's an area to the west when we go back to the satellite imagery, which will bring us our wettest day of the week. And a storm system that's still way out in the Rockies will bring some rain that approaches becoming a soaking rain by Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. It will also warm us up temporarily, and then things do get somewhat better behind it. But one of the reasons for pessimism is showing up not just in the ensembles I'm showing you, but in the European ensemble in particular. We have building this week an area of red around Greenland. What the heck does that mean? That is a blocking ridge of high pressure stacked up like a mountain from the surface up into the mid levels of the atmosphere. And it is blocking normal west to east motion in the northern branch of the jet stream and forces it, as it actually slows the jet stream down, to dip and bring cooler than average temperatures across most of the northern tier of the United States. So this is taking a look ahead to the middle part of the month, around the 11th through the 18th. This color blue implies temperatures, and this is an upper level ensemble, temperatures at the surface will be running 5, 6, 7 degrees below average most days during that mid-month period. Not every single day. For example, this Friday, we should get a brief respite where temperatures could warm up markedly. But let's take a look at what models are showing, and I want to bring us back to the period from Thursday into, give me a second here, into Thursday night and Friday. Now, I have a current article in the Buffalo News online edition called Mediocre May, and this is an expansion on that. On Sunday, when I wrote that article, it looked like this rain would be arriving Thursday morning. The model has slowed it down so that the Thursday morning commute probably will be mostly dry. And then as we get to early afternoon, this area of low pressure way out at the edge of the map over Lake Michigan will be pushing a warm front and destabilizing the atmosphere, so that rain will be on the increase. It's also going to make the air bubbly. There could be some rumbles of thunder. And this model and some others indicating near soaking rains by later Thursday, so that commute will be probably slowed by rain coming down at a good clip Thursday afternoon commute, not the morning commute. The rain lingers into the evening, and later on Thursday and Thursday evening, we're into a more southerly flow, which will allow temperatures to take a jump, possibly to the mid and upper 60s by late Thursday afternoon. And then Friday morning, with the area of low pressure way up to the north, we're still in a warm flow ahead of its cold front. And so we might get close to 70, at least for a little while on Thursday. Probably less shower coverage on Friday than is seen here in this model, the American GFS model. I think Friday afternoon will be drier, and temperatures will begin to cool again by late Friday with a west-northwest flow, bringing temperatures back to below average. But that's the bad news. The good news is here we come into Saturday, nice fat high pressure sitting right over Ohio, implying lots of sunshine returning by midday at the latest and tons of sun in the afternoon. Now, it's not going to be terribly warm with this west northwest flow, but it will be a very pretty day. And Sunday, we should start with a good deal of sunshine. The high pressure nearly over us as we get into the start of the day. It moves to the east. That means maybe a hint of moderation in temperatures Sunday, and most of Sunday should be dry. Some increase in clouds late in the day, maybe a few showers late in the day, but I'd say 90% of this upcoming weekend looks 100% better than what we have here on this Tuesday, and certainly than what we're going to get by Thursday afternoon. The overall outlook for the extended period in the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center is, I think, pretty pessimistic for the period from May 12th through the 16th in terms of probabilities for below average temperatures. That cool shade of blue implies just that. But this is extended over a 4-day period. It doesn't mean all 4 days will be that cool. It means when you add them up together, the temperatures will be running below average. And then that again is tied to that block up near Greenland, forcing the jet stream to take a dive farther south than you would typically expect it. Now, the Climate Prediction Center is a little more optimistic on precipitation, which is certainly going to run above average this week. It has a weak chance for drier than average during the 6 to 10 day period. I have to tell you, I've written about this many times. Precipitation far out in time is much more difficult to discern than temperatures. Much more uncertainty with it, but at least the uncertainty leans towards something more optimistic than what we have this week. This may well end up being the wettest of the four weeks this month. 8 to 14 day period, still some pessimism on temperature probabilities. This is for the period May 14th through the 20th, with more days of below average than above average. And precipitation, CPC, Climate Prediction Center, actually a little more optimistic. I have to throw in my wet blanket on that. I do not have high confidence in precipitation this far out. And so I do think next week will end up being drier than this week. Speaking of which, when I wrote my article for the Buffalo News back on Sunday for the 7-day precipitation totals projected by National Weather Service headquarters, they were on Sunday indicating well over 3 inches of rain here in our neck of the woods. And this color legend indicates maybe by next Tuesday, about 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches of rain. The soakingest part of the rain Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. But that is down considerably. And in the article I wrote, I thought those amounts, which were well over 3 inches back on Sunday, were overdone. And in fact, they have turned out to be overdone. Still, we're going to have to keep an eye on the rainfall totals on Thursday. Could be some ponding on the roads in a few spots for the Thursday afternoon commute. And if any thunderstorms develop, that could produce a couple of localized downpours. But we are not receiving the devastating kinds of rainfall amounts as seen here over Louisiana, parts of Texas, Arkansas, and all of this part of the country already has excess soil moisture. When the soil is excessively moist, that also keeps temperatures from warming up as much as they would. All that water vapor coming off the soil cools the air near the surface, and that makes it that much harder for readings to take the kind of jump we had back on May 1st when we briefly hit 78 degrees. As far as the overall upper air winds, which steer the storms in the fair weather systems, let's take a look at that. And we start out currently with all the warm, high-pressure ridging suppressed well to the south, while we have this dip in the jet stream showing up near the U.S.-Canadian border. You can't get too warm in that kind of a pattern. Then we move ahead. We do dry out for tomorrow, Wednesday, but we're not going to be warming up all that much. At the surface, probably, the upper 50s, which is below the average of 64 or 65. That's the average high for this time of the year. And again, on Thursday is that storm that will bring us the soaking rain Thursday afternoon and evening. May give us a brief warm-up with that south to southwest flow I showed you, but then by later on Friday, here comes the next dip in the jet stream. No persistent warming, and that is our problem. We don't have any signs whatsoever in the next 2 weeks of a persistent ridging of high pressure building up in the upper atmosphere over the eastern United States, which would force this weakened polar jet stream to retreat, retrograde, as we used to say in the Army, to the north and allow some real heating to get going. We could hit 70 on Friday briefly, and the upper 60s possible even with all that rain later Thursday, but then we're back to the 50s on Saturday, and maybe the upper 50s to low 60s on Sunday. So it is not a disastrous pattern, but the problem is we can't get much evaporation from the soils going. So lawns and fields that are squishy will stay squishy, even with yesterday's drying. You notice, hey, it didn't last very long. Some drying this weekend, but then there are signs of some more showers Monday. I have a Facebook friend who tells me, a friend of his who has a grape farm in Chautauqua County is about 11 days behind schedule in growth normally seen by this time of the month. And unless there were a real turnaround in the upper air pattern later this month, crop yields could be down quite a bit for that grower and many other growers. And Mike Ventris, who's an acquaintance of mine, Dr. Ventris is a senior scientist with IBM's The Weather Company, is more pessimistic than I am, but heck, he has a PhD, so I'm not going to ignore Mike. 2019 is looking like it will be the year of no spring for the Northeast, blocking over the higher latitudes into Greenland and North Atlantic do not want to go away. Well, I'll say this much. They don't want to go away in the next 2 weeks, but our track record with predicting these kinds of blocks 4, 5, 6 weeks out doesn't hold up very well. So I'm not ready for that kind of pessimism just yet. Just grit your teeth this week. There are some hints that next week, while it won't be entirely dry by any means, will be drier than this week. And don't forget, even with that blocking pattern, the below average temperatures, the averages keep going up as we go along through the month of May. So below average on Memorial Day will not be the same thing as below average on May 7th. Get my drift? Well, I shall talk to you soon, hopefully with more notes of optimism.